everyone, it's Jananie and welcome back to another episode of #EpicBookRecs. So this is the monthly series that I do here on the Epic Reads channel where I recommend a bunch of YA titles based on a certain theme. So today's theme is a really fun one because it's kind of tied to the season, and that is fall book recs. So books I think kind of fit the autumn season, that give me that cozy fall vibe, and the kind of books that just make me want to curl up on the couch and just read for the evening. So I have a mixed bag of books today. Some of them are contemporaries, some of them are mysteries, some of them are a little bit fantasy, and they're all super great. So let's just get right in. So I thought I'd start off with a couple mysteries that I've actually recommended before in a whole mystery book recs video for Epic Book Recs, so you can go check that out in the playlist down below. But those two books are Truly Devious and A Study in Charlotte. So Truly Devious is by Maureen Johnson, and this is a really fun book. It follows our main character Stevie Bell, who is a true crime aficionado. She is obsessed with true crime, and she sort of wants to get away from her family, so she decides to apply to this kind of exclusive academy called Ellingham Academy, and it's kind of this boarding school academy for bright individuals who have a very specific research interests. And it was founded by this man named Albert Ellingham, and there's this whole mystery behind him and the academy because his wife and daughter were kidnapped back like 100 years ago, and the crime has never been solved. And so Stevie's going to the school determined to kind of solve this 100-year-old crime, but there's also a bit of a murder mystery kind of going on in the present day that stirs things up. This one definitely has a lot of like fall vibes. I feel like any book that kind of starts with going to school at the beginning of the book for like a fresh start to a new school year, I feel like those books always give me a fall vibe. So I think this one's a lot of fun, and it's definitely a cozy mystery to curl up with. A Study in Charlotte by Brittany Cavallaro is quite similar, but this one is a Sherlock Holmes retelling. So for the Sherlock Holmes fans out there, this is definitely a book to pick up. It is such a fun mystery, and I absolutely love our two main characters, Charlotte Holmes, who is kind of a gender-bent Sherlock Holmes, and then we also have Jamie Watson, who is our James Watson. But there's a bit of a love story to this, but also that really core kind of Sherlock Holmes vibe to it. There's a great element of mystery in every single book in this series, but this one starts off when our young Jamie Watson goes to Connecticut to kind of live with his father and ends up meeting Charlotte Holmes and gets caught up in her mysteries and what's going on at their kind of prep school called Sherringford. And there's a bit of a murder mystery going on here as well. So yeah, definitely another mystery that you can curl up with this fall. Alright, the next book is one of my all-time favorite contemporaries, and that is Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. So the reason that I'm kind of recommending this book for a fall themed book recs video is mainly because, one, the cover just gives me fall vibes. The color just screams fall to me, but also the way that this book is kind of set in a school year, and it follows our main character Asa Holmes, who's starting a new school year, and she is kind of struggling with her own mental health and trying to find a semblance of normalcy in high school, which tends to be hard, as we all know. And there's also a bit of a mystery in this book with Asa and her friend trying to find out what happened to this fugitive billionaire, who also happens to have a son that goes to their school, so there's a little bit of a love story there as well. But overall, I just love this book as a contemporary, not just for the mystery aspect. I think Asa's a very endearing character, and there's a lot to learn from the struggles that she's going through. And overall, I just love the writing style as well. There are so many lines in this book that you will fall in love with. So I highly recommend if you're looking for kind of a literary contemporary with a touch of mystery and some serious fall vibes. Alright, the next book is also one that I've recommended before on Epic Book Recs, specifically for a video where I recommended books that involve music in them, and that book is This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. So if you are a person in fall who loves spooky season, then this is the perfect book to pick up. This book has every spooky thing you would need. It has flesh-eating monsters, vampire-ish monsters, and also soul-eating monsters. So this is set in a kind of near-future alternate version of our world where the violent acts of human beings create physical monsters. So the second that a human, does a violent act, a monster kind of springs from that location. So there are three types of monsters: the Korsai, who eat flesh, the Malachi, who drink blood, and then the Sunai, who eat souls. And so we have two main characters, Kate Harker and August Flynn. And so Kate Harker is kind of the daughter of a very wealthy man in the city of Verity, which is known to be overrun with tons of monsters and has kind of been quarantined away from other cities. And so her father is known to, fight the monsters, but also kind of work with them, and he owns kind of half the city. The other half of the city is kind of protected by the Flints who actively fight monsters and are trying to hunt them down, but also stop acts of violence. And August Flint, our other main character, kind of works with the Flints, but he is actually a monster. So he's not actually a boy, a human boy, he is a monster. He's a tsunai. So he was born, I think, a few years before the book starts as a tsunai from a terrible act of violence. And the only thing August really wants is to just be human. But these two characters kind of collide in this book, and it makes for just a really interesting and thrilling read. So yeah, it's definitely a bit on the spooky side, but also a lot of fun. I found both the characters just very endearing, and I wanted the best for them. Especially August, he's my little muffin monster boy, and I wanted the best for him. So yeah, highly recommend if you're looking for a monstrous, spooky read. Alright, the next book that I want to recommend is a book that I recently picked up, and that is My Plain Jane by Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, and Jody Meadows. So this is the second book in the My Lady Janie's series, but it's actually kind of a companion series, so you don't really need to read the first book because it has like nothing to do with this one. It's just kind of told by the same narrators and has the same type of alternate history vibe. So much like My Lady Jane, this book takes a tale that you kind of know really well and flips it on its head and adds new characters and adds a little bit of magic and gives you a really fun story. So in this book, My Plain Jane, we take the story of Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, the well-known classic, and it is taken to new lengths and heights in this book. Basically in this book we follow three main characters. So we actually follow Charlotte Bronte, the writer herself, and then we also follow Jane Eyre, who is an actual person in this book, and the two of them are friends at the same girl's home. And then we have a third character named Alexander who works for the Society for the Relocation of Wayward Spirits. So in this version of the 1800s world, there's something called the Society for the Relocation of Wayward Spirits, which is basically this kind of secret society that takes care of ghosts. So they deal with any ghosts that appear and relocate them to somewhere else. So one of our main characters, Alexander, is one of the agents of this society, and then Charlotte is just trying to kind of write her great novel and is kind of basing it off her best friend Jane Eyre. And then Jane Eyre in this novel is very much following the kind of plot path that happens in the actual novel that we know, but it gets twisted along the way as Charlotte and Alexander kind of get involved with things. And the main kind of crux of this is that Jane Eyre can see ghosts, and so Alexander is trying to recruit her for the society, but she really doesn't want to be part of the society for reasons that we will have to find out by reading it. But yeah, this is a great book. Had a lot of fun with it. It's definitely the kind of spooky book that you can pick up for the season that isn't actually spooky. It has ghosts, it has those supernatural elements, but it's actually a lot more on the funny and fun side. So if you're someone who can't really handle horror but would love to read a bit of it, this is a great one. Alright, the next book is one that I'm super excited to talk about because I'm in the middle of it and absolutely loving it, and it's unlike anything I've read before, and that is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. This is just a wonderful kind of paranormal urban fantasy, kind of in the vein of the Mortal Instruments that you're used to. So basically this book follows our main character Bree Matthews, who's this young 16-year-old girl whose mother has just died, and Bree is heading off to this kind of accelerated program where she's going to be living on a college campus and finishing high school there as like this pre-college program. And so she's living on campus. It has this kind of boarding school, dark academia vibe, but Bree is dealing with her mother's death and trying to process that, but she just wants things to kind of go back to normal. But of course the supernatural world will not let her be, and she's starting to notice some strange things happening around her, especially when these two kids kind of attack this other kid and she sees some magic happen. And from there she kind of discovers this secret society at the college that believes in the legend of King Arthur, and there's actual like substantial magic that comes from that. And so there are people called Legendborn who are part of this society, and there are also Merlins who can wield magic. And so our main character Bree is kind of trying to infiltrate this society and figure out what's going on, and also figure out the connection that they might have to her mother's death. This book is like super interesting because it's like taking the King Arthur, you know, legend, but it's also got a little bit of supernatural stuff going on with it. There are demons in this book, there are action scenes, there's a strong element of magic, but there's also some really contemporary bits with Bree and her father and her dealing with her grief, and I am absolutely enjoying this. It is going so well, and I cannot wait to see where it goes in the rest of the book, but highly recommend already because I just know it's going to be amazing. And it definitely fits that fall vibe with Bree starting a new school year and, you know, discovering the secret society. Like the dark academia vibes are just hitting me, and also just this sense of the supernatural, the scary, the spooky, and it's it's just totally getting me in the mood for fall. Alright, and the last book that I have to recommend today is more of a spooky book, and it's a bit of a vampire book, and that is The Coldest Girl in Cold Town by Holly Black. So if you love the Cruel Prince series, the Folk of the Air series by Holly Black, then I'm sure you're gonna love this book. It is quite different, but this one is a lot of fun still, and it features vampires. So this is set in kind of an alternate version of our world where vampirism has kind of infected a lot of people, and so there are vampires kind of running rampant around the world. And so in the States they've created these things called cold towns. So they are places where vampires are kind of quarantined into these cities, and there are humans who willingly go in there to kind of be regular food for the vampires but kept alive, but the vampires aren't allowed to leave. And so this opens up with our main character Tana, who wakes up at this party that she went to with all of her friends in her hometown outside of one of these cold towns, and everyone gets massacred by vampires. And so Tana wakes up and her ex-boyfriend is there, and he's been infected by a vampire, and so he has 80 days to drink human blood and turn completely into a vampire, or he can refuse to drink blood and, you know, keep his humanity. But obviously he has the craving to drink blood, and so he is trying to keep that in check. And so Tana is determined to kind of help him out, and there's also this other vampire that ends up at this party who is not part of the attack, and Tana ends up kind of helping him out as well. And so these three people are heading toward a cold town, and things just get wild from there. This is both kind of a road trip story, but also a like really weird kind of quarantine story. It might be a little bit triggering in this day and age, but regardless, I think the vampire aspect is just super cool. I love the way that they appear in this book. There's a bit of history too with some of the vampires that you get to know. And I also just love Tana as a main character. She's just a lot of fun. She's really kick butt, and she just knows what she wants. And she's also got this really kind of crazy and dark backstory to her. So if you're looking for a really spooky vampire-y read, then I highly recommend this one. Alright, but those are all the books that I wanted to recommend today for this kind of fall autumn vibe books. I absolutely love this time of the year and just really wanted to recommend some books that would get you guys in the same kind of mood. But as always, I would love it if you guys would leave me your recommendations down below in the comments. Let me know what books remind you of fall, which ones you tend to pick up during the fall, and which ones you're planning to pick up this fall. I would love to know. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'm Jananie from the channel This Story Ain't Over, and I will see you in the next episode of #EpicBookRecs. Bye!